Tesla just released the delivery numbers. And I think on the message you mentioned that you are a bit disappointed, right? So just want to hear your thoughts. Is it like way below your expectations, or like how's the result? Are you impressed by that or not?
I think production numbers was quite in line. I think Troy actually put out like about 360 something. Most of the consensus, including the analysts, so surprisingly, analysts this time around, they are quite soon, right? So they also put out about 365, something like that, consensus. So I thought I will be happy about 360 plus production, but I didn't expect the delivery to be like 20,000 below. Yeah, of course, Tesla say that, most of them are in transit because of the high cost. At the end of the quarter push, you try to deliver as much, but because of the high volume, right? So the costs are like building up a lot. But I think even with that factor in, right, you will see an impact to the bottom line, because vehicles, you produce them but never deliver them, you cannot book them as revenue, right?
Yep.
I don't know whether it's my
yeah, I think you're right.
That's the understanding, right? So that will impact the top, then eventually the bottom line. I don't foresee them like improving their margin like a crazy lot. So with all that said, I think if you zoom out, right, you still see like a record production and deliveries. So it's still marching forward. It's just that there's like a road bump. I think I agree with most of what the online people say. It's like the demand in China has slowed down a bit. And obviously we cannot have like a 50% growth every year, every quarter until infinity, right? Like, yeah, so that at some point we probably have to slow down a little bit. I think 40+%, I'm still quite all right with it. But I don't know whether other investors.
Yeah, but actually this is not really a road bump, right? Because I think Q2 numbers, it was quite bad because of the shutdown, right? Then Q3, everyone expecting that we are going to get a very high delivery numbers. It's just that somehow the actual delivery is way below the expectations. So it's a bit like, or more like expectations is way too, not like super high, it's just that higher than what they are able to deliver. And it's only the problem is on the delivery, not on the production also, right? The production looks quite good.
Precisely, is because the problem is in the delivery. That's what make the demand FUD a little bit more plausible, right? Because like, okay, maybe the demand like drop a little bit. That's why you don't actually sell or deliver every car that you produce.
So do you think that there's a big demand problems that's upcoming?
I think like if you see the iPhone, right, I think they also have some demand issues, right? Like the demand is slowing down a little bit. So more so for cars, right? Cars are like what, about 20 times the price of an iPhone. So most likely you'll see people like starting to like maybe do I really need that car now? Should I hold like I think for China they're saying that they're waiting for some discount, and then for US they're waiting for the EV tax credit. So they're all waiting. So I don't know, like probably next year the demand might pick up a little bit.
Actually, do you know what's the details of like the eligibility to get the discount? Let's say for the China one, right? I heard that let's say if they delay it, then they are able to get some credit, right? Do you know like the timeline, like how to say, how long they have to wait, or how they have to delay until Q4 or next year in order to get the discount? Do you know the details?
A lot of conflicting reports on Twitter. So I was looking around. Some say this, some say that. The only thing that I think is confirmed is the like 7,000 or 8,000 insurance that they give them for free lah. Say if you take delivery now, we'll give you the insurance. But I don't know. It seems like not a lot of people took it up, like because they can see the insurance registration. So it doesn't look like a lot of people took it up. That's why there's some FUD on that too. Yeah. So like you throw in also. Yeah.
Just want to make sure that I get it correctly. So because they are, and I mean consumers, they are anticipating that the price cut, there will be price cut, right? So they try not to take delivery now. Then whenever they basically just want to wait for the price drop first, then only they take delivery and they eventually pay a lower price, right? And what Tesla did is that to encourage them to buy, they say, okay, if you take delivery, so you are foregoing the upcoming price cut, right? Then I give you insurance for free, right? So that's how it works, right? The arrangement.
Yes. So I think the story is like, since the Chinese are not picking up that bait, right? Like, okay, you want this discount? Then they say don't want. we want the actual discount. Then Tesla like, okay lor, then I ship it to somewhere else. But if they ship it to somewhere else, right, you know that it's going to take a long time to reach the other continents, right? So I think Southeast Asia, the market is, other than China, the other markets, I don't think it's that huge, like a few thousand here and there. It's not going to make a significant difference. So the bigger market is like the European market, maybe the US market. So I think like even though Tesla tried to like, okay, you don't want, we ship it somewhere else. But there you have this problem. You ship it somewhere else, the cars are still on the ship. Then your quota is up already.
Yeah. So I don't know what's the variation, right? If we compare cars sold in China versus the other markets, right? Because it's not just the surface, right? The surface, including, there's the branding that's written Tesla in Chinese. I mean, specific for the local market, I think that one they can change easily. But internally, I don't know like how different could it be, right? Like software stuff panel, I think they can do it, but inside the car, I don't know whether the variation is big enough that they can will make it harder for them to customize it for the other markets, or maybe 90% are still the same, still the battery and structure, so they can change it easily and ship to other markets. Do you have any commentary on that?
You mean like the type of battery chemistry?
Type of battery, internal configurations, anything, right? That let's say, okay, for China, we are going to do this type, right? It's not like after they build complete, then they can say, oh, Chinese consumer don't want to take it, I just ship to Southeast Asia, right? Because the left, right, steering wheels also, there's some difference, right? So I don't know how flexible are they when it comes to this type of like relocating their productions.
Okay, there's something that I haven't seen. I haven't seen any discussion on this before. Very interesting question. Maybe you should ask it on Twitter.
Don't know. I also don't have insights. But what I heard is that the one that you mentioned, right? Talking about like China market, there will be price cut. But that's specific for China, right? Do you know like what happened with the US credit? I heard that there will be some EV credit, right? I don't know exactly when is the timeline.
They were saying like 1st January next year. Okay. Then the tax credit will kick in 7,500. Yeah, so
it's also likely that there will be people on the US side that say, okay, let's wait a bit just to get the price cut, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's either like, I think Tesla, the way I see it, I think they have to start pulling some levers, like because they have been upping prices for a few months in a row. Yep. So this year, I think probably you see the demand soften. It will be a good time for them to like pull that demand lever so that they can increase the TAM. If you keep at like 55, 60,000, people are not really willing to pay so much now that the recession is biting demand. So you really have to lower down the entry price for the middle class people to even think about like, okay, maybe I can get a Tesla now. Yeah.
So are you bullish on Q4 delivery? Because there's this 20,000 that is like, don't know, in transit, right? So are you bullish on the Q4 numbers?
I'm bullish, but I don't really see like 495,000 to hit that 50% growth.
Yeah.
Because Darren posted, right? I think I saw his tweet that, or is it YouTube? He posted a post on YouTube. He said that, need 495,000 to hit 50% growth. I'm bullish, but I think the delivery the production delivery, I think is probably will be about 400-ish. maybe 390, 400-ish. I don't see 495,000.
Mm.
That's kind of a almost 500K, right? Like the run rate will be 2 million annually.
Yeah, but there's already articles saying that their targeted run rate by end of the year is 2 millions. I saw this like on Teslarity or some website. But that's target and that's end of the year, right? So
yeah. I don't think that, October, November, they have that. They'll be able to meet almost 500K. Like, I mean, if they meet, then I'm happy to be wrong.
Yeah.
I look at the trajectory. I think even for the most hardcore bulls, right? Nobody is predicting, like, unless you're Warren. You know Warren?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like ultra super duper bull.
Yeah.
But the rest of us, I don't think we are predicting that kind of magnitude.
So actually what happened now is that you mentioned, right, in the past, let's say 6 months, they already keep on increasing the price and they get a good margin out of it, right? Even though in terms of their production numbers, let's say 6 months ago, isn't that huge of a number compared to what we are expecting for Q3 and Q4 or even next year, right? So what happened next year will be that the delivery numbers will still continue to go up, even though, let's say, if we set a more conservative number, it is still much higher than this year delivery, right?
Yep.
Then, I mean, volumes wise increasing, but the margin wise, because of the price cut, is going to be slightly lower, right? So do you think like after these two kind of like blended in, do you think that the earnings, I mean, just want to know your outlook in terms of their earnings, because I remember you did a video to project like the earnings is going to, how much, I forgot the magnitude. I think you are saying that they are going to go up by, don't know, 4 or 6 or 8 times in 2 years, right? So do you have any like change of outlook after looking at the latest data? Just from top of your mind. Yeah.
I think like the delivery, the production number was quite in line with what I thought is the case. I think I projected 370. They produced something close to that, 360 something. But the delivery numbers, if they say that it's going to be low, right? If you smooth out over 4 quarters, I still think that, the financials will somehow add back. But if let's say, you have to pull down the margins by quite a bit, that will be quite damaging. So I think 取长补短, like you have more production, but the margin is not so great, not like 20% margin. Now I think net margin, is it like 19 or something like that?
I don't recall already. I think it's somewhere around 15 to 20% this range.
Yeah, the gross margin like is around close to 30. Then after minusing all the don't know what tax, EBITDA and don't know all that nonsense. Sorry, I'm not an accountant. I just know that they earn like close to about 18-19% margin. So if they're going to pull down the ASP, the selling price, I think that the margin might trend down like towards 14-15. So if you can still do the napkin math, right? Like 14-15, then you go and multiply by their ASP. Yeah, so the cost of their vehicle is about 36,000 USD. And I think that cost is looking to come down gradually over time. I mean, will not be exponential, but maybe 1 quarter they can shave off like 1,000, 1 quarter shave off another 1,000, and then but the discount will be steeper, much steeper than that. So at the end of the day, if they don't quadruple in the earnings in 4 years, I will be happy with a double.
Yeah, definitely. But I think it's okay. The base is still low. I think not so hard for them to double and double again when it comes to their earnings. For revenue, maybe it's a bit harder. Let's say if we have further slowdowns. Okay, I think we switch gear a little bit. That's on the production and delivery, right? And now we talk about the AI day, which is, I think, more exciting because this round, at least based on my own, my own feel, right, is that, the first AI day, it was like, oh, what is this? Like, what are they talking about? It's so difficult to understand, a bit abstract, not much concrete stuff, right? That was the AI day one. And then I remember there's some, the stock market the stock prices reflect negatively right after the event, right? But this round, I think first one is partly because of already there's some expectation to say, okay, this is not going to be like mind blowing, but at least when it comes to what they announce is kind of like concrete. At least we see the prototype, right? That there's like working. There's some nice video, and then there's some in terms of their roadmap on how they're going to approach things. I think there's more visibilities, right? But just come back to you is my questions. Are you like how do you feel? Like, are you happy with the announcement? Are you impressed? Yeah.
I mean, the robot can't really do much as of now, lah. I mean, the two main things that I take away from this, because I am really, really not insider on robotics. I really have no idea what all the ins and outs of robotics are, like, the hand and whatever not. So this is just really based from layman. I'm more in tune with their like car business. So this robot thing is a little bit out of my depth. So I'm just saying like any layman on the street. Okay, so take it with a big grain of salt. So the two takeaway for me is, number one, they want to productize this robot, like mass production. So they have to take into account like the weight. They're very conscious of the weight. They're very conscious of the cost. Like Boston Dynamics, like the leader, right, in robotics, their robots can do very fantastic thing, can like somersault backwards and acrobats and you name it lah. They a lot of what they call that parlor tricks or something like that. But you look at Tesla one, is like like they say like my grandmother can walk better, like very funny. All the Tesla Q very funny jokes. But okay, I had a good laugh as well. I thought the robot was not really the most impressive, to be honest. Like if you look at the robot, you expect them like, wow, can do some fantastic stuff, right? We've been raised on Terminator and all that. But you look at this robot like, just walk a few steps, then do like this kind of thing, like, bro, is that supposed to be like, okay? So I mean, from a layman's point of view, but of course, like you talk about like, okay, the idea that the roadmap that they want to take, because they already have the FSD, so they can like do the AGI thing. So they put a brain inside the robot lah, and that's a huge thing. That's number one. Number two, like I say, they want to productize the thing, so they want to mass produce at a reasonable cost, like 20,000, like what Elon said. So I think those two are like, you still need to see the proof of concept. Like, you know what Chicken Genius used to say, right? First is always a proof of concept. Like this, Elon has said that the robot, they want to make it like useful. And that's a really high bar. Like you want to make that robot useful as in a humanoid form. Like, so what are the things that humans do that currently robots are not doing? Because you know that their giga factories have a lot of robots already, right? The arms that, put the pieces together and all that. All those are advanced robot machines and all that. But now they want to do something that only humans can do. So probably something more intricate, like they say, like fixing the car seat into the Tesla. It's not so straightforward because there's a lot of adjusting and fitting to be done. So a human can perceive the depth and can like make intelligent adjustments, which now I think machines are still not there. I don't know. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong lah. So Tesla, I think, wants to change that. So things that human can do, mechanical things, I'm saying. So when Elon says that he want to replace the world labor, right, expand the economy and all that, I presume he's talking about the mechanical things that the robot can do, simple mechanical things, not like things that require creativity, like intuition and things like that lah. So teaching, I don't know what are the things, artists, musician, all these jobs, they can't really be replaced that easily because of the human faculty that's needed. But if let's say it's purely mechanical, like mowing the lawn, watering the plants, it's kind of like 不用脑的 things. and you can replace with a simple AI lah. So that's what I think Elon's vision is tending towards, and I can understand that. I can understand, but if you ask me if I'm like super duper excited at this point, maybe not. Not like, oh, I'm ready to plot my life saving. No lah, because you haven't proven that it's useful for some job, some specific task that you can like take over from the humans. So if you do that proof of concept, number one, then the second thing is you have to show able to reach volume production.
Yeah, the scale, right?
Yeah, the scale. And then thirdly, this one I think is most important, I feel, is the cost of the materials.
Yeah.
Like
and this is also related to the scale also.
Yeah, the scale also lah. Like if you scale up, but the materials you're using, titanium, like the Boston Dynamics is.
Yeah, that one is like they have the proof of concept, but they don't have the like they can't scale, right? That's the problem because like, of the materials.
Yeah, you saw the Honda clip, like they show the robot with
the Asimov, right?
Yeah. So they have.
It's quite impressive, I think.
Yeah, it's impressive, but now it's like you don't even see any Honda robot like being used. Like so, they'll just purely, putting it there. Like okay, we can do this thing.
Yeah, actually, when you talk about this, like whether the robot is useful or not, right? I think depending on how we see it, right? Because let's say if in order for it to be useful, right? I think useful isn't that hard. Okay, depending on how you define it, how you're going to use it, right? But let's say you say it has to be useful and to justify, let's say a 20,000 or 30,000 cost. I think that one is totally a way different bar, right? For example, you say to be useful, the one that I'm thinking, right? Let's say if they take another 2 years, right? Just to improve the mobility of the robots, right? Able to walk, and then let's say people push it, like a children try to push it, it won't fall down, right? You're not going to like run it with a car, right? Just a human person push it, it can stabilize itself, right? I think with that mobility, at least, right, I think it's quite useful for the last mile delivery, because right now I think they can do the delivery of like to the nearest, let's say 7-Eleven, and then you want to pick it up yourself, right? But imagine that you have a robot, right? And of course, we can design something like a robot to like a 4-wheels robot to deliver to your home, right? Autonomous one. I think that one is okay, but you still need an arm to click on the leaf, and sometimes the journey to people's house is not like can you just can use the 4 wheels to run over that kind of easily. You still need to navigate a little bit, but humanoid, I think, is more appropriate because sometimes you need to walk through the staircase, these kind of things. I think if you have a robot, and as long as you can walk, right, when it comes to the hand movement, you don't need to like have a very flexible hand movement. You just need to carry, and that one, you just say, okay, you just need to deliver this from the 7-Eleven to the house, right? And just run these things for, like whenever the battery can last, right? I think it's already very useful, The last mile delivery, what I heard is that it's very hard it's a problem that is very hard to solve, especially if you take into account how economical it is. So I think that's the things that I'm thinking of, because there are some niche that, sometimes even with some limited capacity, they can deliver it better than a lot other solution that's currently we have. So that's the thing. I think there must be somewhere that you can apply it, I'm not saying that you have to do it like a very much better than the other robots or much better than the other alternatives that we have, right? Just that you need something that just the niche case that, okay, now robot can do this, right? Then it is useful already. But whether you will buy 20,000-30,000 to do this kind of work, that's another question on the economics, whether it still works or not, right? It could be that you just hire someone to do it manually using humans, still cheaper. Then it's still you technically you can't scale it, right? Because from the cost perspective, it doesn't make sense.
Okay, first thing I hear Amazon shareholder. I really hear you, man. Like, okay, I see your point of view from where you're setting off. But if you say that, right, if Tesla is able to do the kind of robot for last mile delivery, I think 20,000 is really very, very cheap. Can you imagine like a human being, right? Like let's say he take 2K, those kind of delivery, 2K a month. It takes just 10 months to recruit and the robot is like no maintenance. You just need to charge a little bit every day. Negligible maintenance. It doesn't even need to eat. Don't need to pay insurance for the robot.
Yes.
So like a lot of the costs associated with a human, like they also won't form unions. Basically.
That's the things.
Yeah. So a lot of things is like the headaches is gone already. You just pay like 10 months of a delivery man salary. You can get this fella who works without complaining 24/7.
Yeah.
So I think the the utility part, right, will be crazy. The utility part. I mean, if you couple that with FSD, like they just make the van. But of course, I know Tesla doesn't have vans, but if they solve for FSD, right, they can just sell the FSD software to the other company that makes those vans, and then they have the software. Then the robot will sit in the car with all the things loaded up already, and then you just go around 24/7 making those deliveries.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think that's like I mean, it can make sense, right? And another, it just need to walk fast enough to deliver. You can't move too slow, because that would immediately affect how many deliverables that you can deliver. A parcel that you can deliver within, let's say, 1 hour, right? Then one, you have to walk fast enough, stable enough, don't fall down. These are the criteria that I think should be quite important, because 70, 80 kg, when you fall down, also let's say your house also break, so don't, I mean, it could be quite dangerous. So it has to be stable enough, and it has to, like, the walking speed has to be satisfactory in order to make this work. But I think these are not like you need a very advanced kind of engineering. I think the technology is there. It's just that how soon they can acquire it, and because they have a high bar for it to like have to be, how to say, that the manufacturing has to be cheap, right? So that one is putting another constraint. That's why I think they will still need some time to figure it out. Like, it's not like to say, okay, Boston Dynamics can do it. They can have the dog that can walk so fast. How come they cannot make it, right? Yes, that's true. But if you put a cost constraint, I think they still need a couple of years to figure it out. And another use case, right, that I was thinking of is for security. You have the robot, you have the camera. Because the current security that we have is CCTV, which is fixed one, right? Imagine that you have 2 robots and just patrol, like the stadium or whatever, right? The factory or whatever. You need a couple of robot to patrol, and you can't predict what kind of route that they will take, right? Sometimes they can go randomly here and there. And I mean, for thief, right? They want to break in, right? You need to anticipate the robot that will come in, because the CCTV, where are they, so it's easier to bypass, right? But for robots, something that's randomly walking around, as long as they have the CCTV that can detect movement, these kind of things, I think you just pair all the the functionalities that's already available, and it can become something that's useful, right? Some big compound that you need someone security to help patrol around, right? I think this is also quite useful, and the robot can shout, right?
Wow, this is bad, man. You're going after the uncle's job.
Yeah, that's true. I think you always need security personnel to, there are, let's say, ports, right? You have big compounds. You for sure you need some uncle to work there during midnight to make sure that these are the facilities that, let's say, if someone go and do some vandalism, it's going to be bad, right? That's why you have security costs for these kind of situations. Let's say even like condo, right? Condo, you have a guard house. You still need the guard to walk around, right? And these are the stuff that you can, as long as you have a robot that can walk around, have a camera, the robot don't have to carry gun, they just have to walk around and help the securities to patrol. I think, of course, you can say, okay, a fixed CCTV will be cheaper. Okay, that might be true also, but CCTV can't walk around. If for a big compound, you can't have a CCTV installed out of nowhere, right? Inside the building, yes, but let's say if you need someone to walk around, you just look around this kind of a security job, right, then you can see that there will be area that the robot will be perform much better, especially those that need to work midnight, Yeah.
Wow, a lot
A lot of
of
things. This is just on what I'm thinking, There are still quite a number of use case that we can't think of at the moment, right? Then we have to see their capability. Then we can see, okay, how could it be useful? I don't think that's too bad, I think. And I think one thing that Elon mentioned is the dexterity, right? Once the hand movement, everything become more, they can operate with more precisions, then I think it's different already. And this one also not, I mean, this kind of technology is already in there, like the surgery companies, right? I think, what's the name already? Intuitive Surgical. I think they also can do a lot of things. I mean, it's just machines, right? Yeah. So aside from the robots, any other things that you are excited about? For example, the FSD or the dojo, anything that you want to cover there?
the never coming FSD, right?
That's true. But there's always improvement, right?
Yeah, the 3 years that I've been invested in Tesla, like every year Elon is very confident that this year we're gonna solve FSD. Every year he's very confident. Like,
yeah.
I don't
and
know.
Now October already.
Yeah, like I think a lot of detractor they say that Elon, like, he's a fraud. He always like say, but not really. It doesn't really come to fruition, which I think they do have a point. But I think they fail to see that there's progress lah. There's progress in the FSD. But one thing is, I don't know, like if he could just like stop saying that he's confident this year will happen, like he can just say that, oh, it's getting better, like people always bait him lah, like, hey, when do you think it's going to be ready, fully autonomous? But he can just say, oh, it's very hard to predict lah, like we just do our best, but we can see the progress, right? Like if you're not like those kind of Tesla Q, like they're bent on hating him. So you can see FSD rolling out slowly, like thousands, tens of thousands, and now 160,000 people are using FSD, and a lot of the reports saying that it's very good.
Yep. Like, they mentioned that they're going to get out of beta soon, right?
Yeah.
Would it be next year?
I think he's targeting like next year, if I'm not wrong.
The worldwide one that I'm a bit skeptical, because I don't know, because right now I believe it's only available in US, right? The FSD beta, right? So all sorts of improvement that they have done is really catered for the US situations, right? In terms of how the cars like drive on the road, in terms of the sign and so on. I really doubt that, let's say if you buy a Tesla car in Singapore, then you can get the FSD beta that's out of beta next year, I actually doubt that.
I think the rollout will be very gradual, like what they did in the US. They'll give it to people with high safety score, and then slowly lower the bar. Yeah, for most of the rest. So I think it'll be a calibrated approach, like what Tesla has always been doing. I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm just viewing the FSD like is an add-on. It's not like the main business now, but it's an add-on, something that is actualizing over time. So over the quarters, you see, okay, wow, roll out more. Then they are charging more, like 10, it was 8, right? 8, then 12, 15, 20, So they raise the price of FSD as it gets better and better lah. So I'm totally fine with it continuing on, like for the next few years like this. Like Elon, like every year, like it's gonna happen, like okay lah, whatever lah, like it's just improve until one day, I don't know, like maybe 3-4 years time, like finally we have level 3, guys.
Yeah, I think that's the things. I think for those who follow Elon long enough, his patterns. I think.
Yeah.
But personal questions for you is that do you have any plan, let's say, to go to US or anywhere that have FSD, right, and try out yourself? Do you excited to like have a chance to try it out?
Oh man, if I have a chance to go overseas, other than Malaysia lah. If I have a chance to go anywhere, right, I will most definitely go for holiday first. Like FSD is not top of my mind. Like okay, if we can drive, then okay lah, fine lah. I'm not like I don't know what will I be mind blown? Not really, because I've seen so many YouTube videos on it already. So okay lah, it's a nifty thing to have, but it's not going to change my life. Like I don't know.
But at least for those who try it, they say, I personally haven't tried it. I drove on Tesla before, but not the, haven't tried the FSD. The car just drives by itself, right? This kind of things I haven't tried. They say it's like, for those who try it, they say it's magical, right? So I don't know, will you want to try it or not? But you say not on your mind.
I mean, okay, it might be quite fun. Like, let's say I want to go like Bukit Timah, and then hey, drive me to Bukit Timah. Like, you can do that, and I think that's quite cool lah.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like, should I be mind blown by that?
I don't know. This is the experience that you get, right? It's not like you control your feeling, right? I mean, you will know what's your feeling once you try it.
I don't know. I'm not really a car person, nor am I like super interested in if a car can drive itself. Yeah. It's just me lah. I like what Tesla is doing. Excited about its growth prospects and all that. But FSD for me is like personally. Since you asked me a personal question, right? Personally, I'm not like. It's not like a dream for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't. Understood. I don't dream of it.
Yeah. What about the Model Y test drive? I think recently they opened for like a lot of all these test drive.
Great World.
So, yeah. Have you tried it?
Today, first day, ma.
As in before that, also they are like, let's say Model 3. Have you tried the test drive?
I didn't drive the Model 3, but I've sat in the Model 3. Like my friend was driving it. Then my wife said, "No, don't drive, don't touch it," because she knows that it's like a very expensive. It's very expensive. So she's scared that I don't know.
But but you drive, right? It's not like you don't know how to drive. So.
I know. She's just worried that I scratched my friend's car for some weird reason. Okay lah. I mean, don't drive, law. It's not like. Yeah, I was just telling one of my friends, I say that I'm not a car person. Before I invested in Tesla, I can't tell one car from another. Like, to me, it's like, okay, maybe the shape is a bit different and all this thing. I'm like, okay lah, fine lah. Like, I have friends who are like car enthusiasts. Like, they love cars. They love the sound of the cars. Yeah. They love I also don't know lah, different parts of the car, the engine, they know how it works, the tires, the treads on the tires. They know every single thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay lah, just bring me to the place lor. Like,
for utility, you see as a utility.
Yeah, I'm not a car person, so you see my car is like a bit cui one because the lorry will scratch my car door, then like, okay, whatever. I'm not like very sing tong, like, oh my car. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. So I think, aside from this AI day, anything else that you want to cover? If not, I have, let's say, a couple more questions that we can cover outside of Tesla topics.
Okay. We can shift somewhere else.
Okay. So what do you want to cover? Maybe I just throw out one. Credit Suisse.
Oh man!
Because suddenly, I think last week or last 2 weeks ago, there's this Xi Jinping got arrested, and then the entire Twitter sphere is like, oh, crazy! Wow, there's a lot of things like this change coming. Then turn out fake story. Then this round is like, I won't say for the Xi Jinping arrested one. The moment I see, the moment I saw it, I know it is a fake story, right? But this one talking about Credit Suisse. Because I mean, for those who are not aware, right, is that Credit Suisse, if you look at their credit default swap, I think also went up quite high and even comparable to the period during the global financial crisis. Yeah. So this one just show that this is not totally, like just out of nowhere kind of rumor. In fact, their balance sheet and their income statement, I think their fundamentals isn't that great, and this is not new, right? Has been ongoing for a couple of years. And not just Credit Suisse, right? I think Deutsche Bank and maybe a couple of more other banks, European banks also, they are not in a good state, right? So
yeah,
when they say there's some crisis that's brewing, I think there's some truth in it. What's your view on this?
you can see the Credit Suisse.
Yep.
Can you see?
Yep.
This is the stock chart.
So we are just looking at the this year movement, right? So
this is, I think, 5 days. Okay, let's zoom out. This is 5 years. Let's look at the max. Okay, so 2007, right? The high was like 77. Now it's less than $4. So this was the collapse in the Credit Suisse. Pretty terrible, I would say.
Yeah, I know there's periods where they are very weak. For example, like during 2012, the European crisis, I think they have some problem. And then 2016, there's some rumor about like recession risk and so on, right? So 2016 was quite weak. And then there's some rebound, but they didn't manage to break the resistance that they just keep on like trending downward and downward, right? So I think there's some quite a number of bad news, not just bad news, they really encounter a couple of problems, including the recently one. I think it's some private, I can't remember the names already. I think they have some problems which hit their fundamentals, right? Their balance sheets, right? So do you think that they are heading towards bankruptcy or get acquired by another banks or stuff like that?
I don't think anyone can predict when that will happen. In fact, the problems at Credit Suisse, I think it has been going on for like at least 3 to 4 years. I think 2 years ago, they say that, oh man, this guy is going down, man. It's going down soon. But haven't yet. We'll just have to keep that in mind. Like anytime this bank, right, implodes, that's probably going to be kind of like a Bear Stearns moment. I remember when Bear Stearns was like Bear Stearns and in March, and then Lehman Brothers in September. It was half a year, and so most of us, like for me back then, right, I didn't think much. I thought investment bank like okay lor, they bankrupt, so be it lah. But I didn't know that they were so super interconnected with the rest of the system, the financial system, all the other hedge funds, investment banks. They all have ties, like they are counterparty to this guy. So if they go under, right, they will drag all the rest down. And what I remember most clearly from that period of time, right, is when the bank CEO, I think it was Lehman Brothers. The CEO came out. His name is called Dick something.
Dick Phil, I think.
Yeah, that's not a very not a very inspiring name, but anyway, he came out and said, "Oh, we have no liquidity problem. Don't worry, guys. Don't worry." Within like I think 2-3 days, bankruptcy.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like, so I'm watching very carefully. Like Credit Suisse just came out, like the CEO also, right? Came out with a statement saying, we have strong liquidity, ample liquidity, strong fundamentals, rock solid balance sheet. I worry when the bank come out to say that, right? Because banks essentially are run on trust. They only have 10% asset for like 100% of their AUM. So if let's say you get a bank run, right? People pull out. Your counterparty try to cut ties with you. And they buy puts on you, like the credit default swaps, right? Is essentially a put on the bank. Like they betting that you cannot pay your bonds on time and all that. So I don't think that's like a very confidence inspiring. Like to me, I will really watch for this. It's also the reason why I haven't been really buying a lot of stocks like US, Singapore side. I haven't really pumped in the DCA amount for the past how many months since May, because I see if the Fed keep tightening, right, the systemic risk is actually rising quite fast. So I don't know like what's gonna happen. I'm just keeping some dry powder for panic.
Yeah. And in terms of your exposure, currently you don't invest in banks, right? Or any financial institutions, right? Or maybe you just invest in the Singapore one, not
I have
US one.
DBS, but DBS I bought it like around the COVID period. So I think my average price was about $20. Then I sold it when it was 30. I sold enough so that what I have remaining is like free. So I don't really care. Yeah, I don't really care like, what happens to it. I mean, hopefully it doesn't go bankrupt lah. I don't think it will. I don't think it will. But DBS, I think over the long term, I'm still bullish on it. Not as bullish as Tesla, but bullish. Like I can see a minimally about 10% growth annually. So I still think it's a solid stock to have.
I still think very different. I think Singapore, at least the local banks in Singapore, they are not like the Credit Suisse that have all this investment banking arm and do all sorts of different type of risk takings, right? And when it fails, sometimes it hurt their capital so much that put them into a big trouble. But I think this one very hard to predict. My own take is that it's not going to be like, okay, they are getting bad and worse, and then they just bankrupt. It's not like that, right? Usually before they bankrupt, government will sure try to extend some help in a sense of not helping them, but to help the financial markets, right? Because they'll try to engineer some M&A. I think this is quite common. Even Lehman Brothers before they defaulted, right? Like the Bear Stearns, right? I think Bear Stearns, they asked what's the name already? I forgot. Bank of America or one of the banks to JP Morgan's, right? That acquired them, right? So it's not a bankruptcy. It's just acquired at a price that is very, very low. And then because of all this intervention from the government, sometimes it's not so popular to do this kind of things. So when Lehman Brothers came, they just can't do it already because it's too unpopular. Because they can always just bail it out, right? I think government has that ability to do so in terms of the technical, but they can't do it from the if they consider the popularity of the actions. That's why they have to let Lehman's go, right? So after that, it become big crisis, and they can't let AIG or these like bigger ones. That's why there's all sorts of bailout that went right after Lehman Brothers collapse. So I think this round we still haven't seen like a big crisis for a long time. I think one reason is also because the banks, they are much better capitalized, right? So I think that one helped a little bit, but we still don't know because all these things, there's a lot of interaction in between and things are hidden somewhere. We don't know like whether one will lead to the other, like a dominoes, right? I think the risk is always there because of, like you mentioned, the leverage is already built into the system. They can't run away from that, right? So they can't, it's just part of the business model that they can't say they are 100% safe, right? So I think that one is quite interesting.
I think the housing one is something that we should keep a close watch, because housing, right, is for US side. I think you're more familiar with it than me. I think their housing system is not like ours. It's like for them, it's quite easy to get mortgage, right? Like they don't really have like a TDSR like us. They just anyhow, okay, can you lend me a lot of money? And then I don't have money to pay back, and then they also cannot do anything to them. So it's kind of quite a messed up system. So after the subprime in 2008, right? I think now I'm a bit weary, but if their housing has problem, right, it will be precipitated throughout their financial system, which is not going to be great.
I think this one, I think similar one, because the housing market would drive quite a number of other industry, especially the financial bankings, right? I think we already saw that in China, their real estate market already heavily affected. And now I think given that the interest rate is so much higher, I think their housing markets, we already see some signs of slowdown, some drop in prices and so on. So yes, I'm also quite concerned with the situations there. I don't know how it will proceed, but it seems that the systemic risk is much higher now compared to, let's say, just 6 months ago, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, that's on the Credit Suisse. Any other topics that you're interested to cover? If not, we can close the call, or we want to mention one more. What's your take on Bank of England? QE is back.
Oh, we can talk about a few more things. You know the gas pipe, right? That was bombed, destroyed lah. The Nord Stream pipeline. What's your thoughts? Who did it?
I think, right. Okay, I don't think it's Russia. The moment I saw the news, I know most likely it's not Russia, because Russia, right, this is their leverage, right? They can turn on and off. If you have you can turn on and off, and you turn off, you give some shit excuse, right? I mean, this is show that the leverage is on your side, right? You make the call on whether you can turn it on and off. Right? Why would you it's like options? And then you say these options, there's some value to it, and you just say, okay, I'm going to just throw it off, right? I mean, just for that reason, I think it's not going to be Russia. I know there are, speculation to say, okay, all these things, right, still come back to US. It has to be US because they benefit the most of all these things, right? I think that could be one. But we cannot also rule it out. Like it could be some other players that we are not aware. For example, it could be Poland or whoever, right? And they might have their reason to do so also, but which I didn't follow that closely to be able to give a thesis to say, this round I know it's Poland. I mean, this is just one example. It could be like other countries, right? But the thing is, now I think it just make it harder for Russia and Ukraine or let's say NATO or Europe to come to the table to have some negotiations, right? Because now there's nothing that Russia can offer at the moment because of this situation, but maybe they can fix it. I also don't know the situations, right? That's my take. Your turn.
I have a view because I used to play this game called Seven Wonders. Yeah, have you heard of it?
No.
It's like a turn-based strategic board game with like 3, 4, 5 different people. So, okay, just to give you a brief outline of the game, right? Sorry, boss, some of the people. There's 3 rounds in the game. The first round, right, you're supposed to build up resources like ore, wood, all different kinds of resources, clay, so build up all the resources, right? Then, and maybe grab some points. So at the end of the game, right, you're supposed to have a lot of points. So first round typically is just to get all the resources. Second round is you want to build up your science, your technology. Okay, so only when you get a certain number of sciences, right, the facility, then you get a boost in your points. Okay, so that's for the second round. The third round, right, is where all out, you have all your resources, you have all your technology, all out, you just go and chiong all the points, all the point cards. Because all the point cards, they need resources, they need like certain other cards, like the technology cards, so that you can build them. So if you don't have resources, don't have the technology, you cannot build those point cards. So the first 2 rounds is very important. So the way that we play the game, because it's turn-based, right? So the cards that we hold in one hand, you will rotate clockwise or anti-clockwise, depending on the round, to the next person. So you can look at your hand and then you say, okay, if I take these resources, right, the next fella, he cannot take it. And then he have to buy from me. Then I have the leverage. And sometimes, right, we can take the resource and we can hide it, or we can burn it, like destroy the resource. Right? Throw in the rubbish heap so that no one else can get it. And then you're the only one who has it, and everyone has to buy from you. So the way I see it, right, this is a game, but obviously it has real life implication, right? If you are a country, imagine if you're Putin, right? You have the gas resource. And then the rest is like, they don't really have so much compared to you. And then you're fighting a war. Like in the game, there's also, like a military. So you build the army also at the same time when you're doing all those things. So when, let's say you're fighting a war, right? And then your opponent has to get that resource to build, like in round 3, those point cards.
Mm.
And then you have the army, and then your opponent has to choose whether they want to construct the resource or build up the army to oppose you. So in real life, that's also the thing, right? Like, US is strategically looking at Russia specifically, right? NATO is also like a political thing, right? I'm afraid to say that because I don't know whether people.
It is. It is.
Yeah, it is, right. It's specifically to counter Russia.
Yeah.
Soviet Union, like last time. So US wants to make sure that they curtain the power of Russia. And then if you think about it, the Nostrum, the pipe, supplies a very important resource, natural gas, to the European countries. And I don't think there's any other pipelines that does the same. And US side also, they can't really supply easily because they're separated by a huge sea, right? So they have to ship it over really slowly. So if you are the US, right, you want to control, you want to dictate what Europe does, whether they support you in your war effort, whether 嘴巴讲 or in action, right? Or to assist you in sanctioning Russia.
Yeah.
So you kind of force this person to be your ally. What is your best course of action? So it seems like if they get rid of the Nostrum stream, then the lever that Russia can pull to get Europe to the negotiating table is lost. Once it's lost, right, Russia have nothing to offer to Europe.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, so Europe can just say, oh, okay, now you can't even give us gas. We're gonna sanction you and.
So you are saying that now, let's say you're basically saying that this is US did it, and even Europe know US did it, they will still side it with the US.
They can't do nuts about it because now, right? Now they need the gas.
Yes.
And only US can supply them. Although it's a few times more expensive and it's much slower to reach them, they have no choice, but they need it. Like if I want to build that resource, the point card, I need the resource, ma. So if you are the only player that has it, I will pay you all the gold that you need.
Yeah.
Because I just need that point card, ma, to win the game. Yeah. So they're kind of in a dilemma, right? Not really dilemma. They have no choice.
Yes.
Before that, it was a dilemma.
Yeah. I think we are basically saying the same thing. I think we are all in agreement on like this analysis of the situations, right? Yeah. But I think I heard there's another theory, which is like, okay, because we are talking about like these are the rational decisions that each will do. You just see who benefit, and then we from there we try to guess, right? Yeah. Then the other theory to say actually Russia is the one that did it, right, is because if Russia is basically doing this and it become obvious that US is the one that did it, and using this as an excuse to break down the relationship between Europe and US. It's like a 3D chess. Like there's a lot of all this.
No, this argument.
I don't buy that.
This argument holds no water at all. Like
why?
If you imagine you're Europe, right? You need the gas not to freeze, right? In winter. Who cares, right? Like, do I fall out with the only player who has the resource that I need?
Yeah.
You cannot, you see?
Yeah.
If you have that natural gas, the pipe still there, right? Okay, then Russia is like, still can
stand in between, right? Can say, okay, let's negotiate.
Can say like, oh, you give me this Ukraine, you give me Ukraine, I give you gas. There's something to say, ma.
Yeah.
Then like, so Russia will never do that. Only an idiot will think Russia destroyed its own pipes.
Yes.
They took 6 years and don't know how many billions to build those pipes. Yeah. So they will not destroy their own infrastructure. That's crazy. That's nuts. I don't know who came up with that theory. That's like, you you like destroy.
No, I'm not the one.
Yeah,
I just heard it.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense. You won't destroy your own property.
I think the things that I'm seeing now, right, is that there are peoples who, after following all the news from the Western side, right, they kind of already believe that everything that Russia did, right, is all Russia is the evil, like Putin is the evil, and so on. So there's this narrative that is very, very strong, and some sabotage like this, it has to be Russia, right? So there are people that think so. So they will look for all kind of excuse to say, okay, this is Russia doing, which I don't think so, because at the country level, right? I mean, these are all strategic decisions that they have to make, right? This is not about like, okay, there's madman, there's all these things. Even if they launch a nuclear attacks, right? I also don't think that he is a madman. It's just that if you are standing at his positions, sometimes it's called for this kind of crazy action, but it's only crazy from our perspective, because I mean, we are the audience or the spectators, right? Or you are the victims, right? Then you say this is crazy, but from his perspective, actually, it just no other choice, right? So actually, I think that's the situation.
I don't agree that it seems crazy. In fact, to me, right, it's very logical that he will do that, because NATO and US, right, they are slowly encroaching by the use of sanction and alliances and military outstations, right, near to Russia. So they are actually encroaching on them, which is what forced, I think, Russia to annex Crimea or something like that. So it's for every provocation, right, they need to like retaliate. But the Western side will paint a narrative that Russia is the aggressor. Russia is always the bad guy. But like it cannot be so. Like this, you're encroaching on his territory and all that, then you expect him to like sit on his hands. Doesn't make sense. So I fully understand what Putin is doing to safeguard. Like so he said one thing, right? I saw this video clip, very interesting. He said, people say that we shouldn't use nuclear. But I say that if the safety of our people, the sovereignty of our country is under threat, right? Albeit very, very slowly, right? They are encroaching very, very slowly. It's not outright US go and attack them. In fact, US never go and attack. It's only pushing, puppeting all the rest, right? Ukraine, like, you fight for us, we give you all the weapon, all the money, then ask the Europe to sanction them. Then like, oh, we give you all the gas. So you see what US is doing, like puppeting everyone else to try to press down Russia. So Putin is saying that if sovereignty and safety of our country, of our people are under threat, and I don't use nuclear, then what's the point of nuclear?
Yes, that's the strategic weapons that they have, right? And they have to deploy it, right, if needed. Actually, I want to ask, right, because right now, I think since, let's say, early this year, we always talk about like Russia-Ukraine war, and then we're seeing that basically US is doing their best to like position it accordingly, get European on their side, and then just fight off Russia, right? And it seems that, at least on the war front, is that, okay, it seems that the Western side is winning this war, right? We still don't know. I think this thing is still in the midst of it, but it seems that at least this is what we have seen. I mean, at least based on Western media, I think I'm. But my next question is: do you think that, let's say, whatever outcomes that come from this Russia-Ukraine war, right? Do you think that US will just like look towards China side and then do exactly the same thing, and to the extent that really we are seeing some like war ongoing on the Asia side now? For example, like Taiwan, right? Do you think that this is something that going to happen?
If China were to make a move on Taiwan, right, I dread to think what will happen. Because if US does the same to China, what it's doing to Russia, right, it's going to be really bad, because China is like the biggest trading partner for a lot of Asian countries. A lot. In fact, we're closer to China in terms of trade-wise, right? Than compared to US. So I don't know, like US, they're half a world away. Like they try to dictate here and there, build military bases here and there. It's not gonna be good. I shudder to think of it. I really, really pray that they don't go to war. Like if US and Russia they war and all that, right? Like we just have a lot of inflation because all the things get more expensive and on, but we still can carry on. We still live a fairly okay life, like not too disrupted. But if US China 干上
Yeah.
I think GG.com really GG.com. Like the first thing is semiconductors chip gone.
Yeah.
That's number one. Like, and China manufactures so many things. They refine like how many percent? 90% of the world rare metal. So how many things we use, like our phones straight away?
Yeah.
All the rare metal, all cannot.
Yeah.
Because China controls it, So I mean, unless US has those, they don't. They produce like what? 0.6% of the world's rare metal. Like, okay lah. Like if you go to war with China, that's it. That's it for a lot of things that we think that are like part of our daily life. All those things will be wiped out. I really dread to think that, oh no, please don't ever do it lah. Seriously.
I think my hope is that because of all these trades that is ongoing and then a lot of partnerships, right? At least on the corporate end, right? For example, you see like talking about chips also, there's still a lot of, I think they use a lot of supply chain in China as well, right?
Yes.
Even though like the manufacturing is done in Taiwan, but all sort of things, right? Including manufacturing, including you see like Apple have their factories in China, and then all these automakers. I mean, both sides, they are producers, both sides, they are consumers. They are all like big producer and big consumer. You don't want them to stop trading, right? So I think just that it is so painful that if war break out, then everyone just lose big time, right? And because of that, there's incentive to keep everything at least stable. I mean, sanction wise, we have went through that during Trump's times, right? They sanctioned China and then back and forth. I think that one we went through that. But that's one thing, right? Because I think in terms of business, it's still ongoing. Sanction, what it means is that they just impose, not sanction actually, they impose the tax, right? Higher taxes for the import. Tariffs, not sanctions, sorry. Tariffs. So I think that one still you just pay a little bit more, and at least business still can continue. But once you sanction, I think that's very, very hard already. Now there are small category of products is already within the sanctions, right? For example, like Huawei, all these things, right? But we just hope that for the everyday's items, for example, like phones, all these things, electronics, all these things don't suddenly end up become sanctioned, and we can't imagine that you complain about like iPhone costs how many thousand. Imagine that you want to spend 10,000 and you can't even get one, right? That kind of situation is a lot worse, right? Yeah.
No, man. Okay. Doomsday prediction.
Yeah, no. We're not going to do that kind of predictions. It's just that people always extrapolate on whatever happens on the Russia-Ukraine side towards the east. Because if you look at it from US perspective, for sure Russia, although I won't call them like big enemies, right? Because they also cooperate before all these things happen. There's always this like frenemy kind of relationship, right? I mean, they both sit on the UN Security Council and so on. It's just that now escalated with the Ukraine situation. That situation is a lot worse. And their next second biggest so-called enemy or frenemy is China. So people always tend to extrapolate to the China side. So that's all the worry come from. Yeah, okay. I think thank you so much for all the insights, and it's always fun to chat with you, especially we have all these big things, right? I think people anticipate like the Tesla delivery numbers, AI Day. Now it's all gone already. Let's see what's news that we are going to get over the next couple of weeks, and then of course let's have another session and chat in details and do the recording.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Can.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Kunti.